Assalamu alaikum to some of you and peace to the rest of you. All right. Niggas, 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 niggas. As much as I hate to use that word, there's no better word to describe the people who suffer from this kind of affliction. This is a very niggerish affliction I'm going to point out to us. And it is largely it is largely black people that suffer from this. It is not limited to African Americans. Black folks in the Caribbean, black folks in the continent, black folks in North America tend to suffer from this. I'm not sure about black folks in Latin America. You tell me. I don't know. What I do know is that, I have reason to believe it's the same thing, but I can't confirm it. Now, the affliction from which I'm talking about is, it's unnamed. I'm pretty sure that it is related some way to PTSS, which is post-traumatic slave syndrome. And we have that. We got it even in the continent due to colonization. Maybe it's called PTCS, post-traumatic colonization syndrome. The point I'm making is that we suffer mentally. And what is the affliction? Well, I guess we could call it the psychosis of suffering, the glorification of suffering. You pick the name. Ask somebody who's trained in mental health and in mental afflictions. We have an illness in which we love to glorify suffering. I'm not here for it. Despite all religious teachings, I'm not going to glorify suffering for black people anymore. Now, everybody suffers something in life. We all know that. And we know, at least in our faith, we understand that suffering is described as one of the tests. Joy and ease are also described as one of the tests. We're tested with hardship and with ease. Now, while this may be specific to one faith community, it's a message that reverberates in the Christian church. They could understand it if they hear the concept, although I never hear Christians referring to being tested with ease. I almost never hear about that. So I never hear it explained that way. Maybe it exists as a concept or not, I don't know. What I do know is that we black folks have this very bad niggerish habit of glorifying suffering. Every time we hate something, we start acting like it's the best thing in the world for us because we hate it. We're trying to take joy in suffering. Always trying to find more than just a silver lining or take advantage of it. Rather, we start elevating suffering to the point of the purpose of life. The purpose of human creation, as far as the religions teach us, is for us to worship our Creator. We, black folks specifically, tend to take something else and put it in place of that, which is to suffer. So instead of the purpose being to worship our Maker, the purpose becomes to suffer. Like suffering is why you were created. I'm through with that mess. This post of mine is inspired by a post from my man Basir Bey and my man Maurice Stewart. And they point out, both of them point out, a question, or rather a phenomena, in which we like to revel in how sternly and strictly we discipline our children. Now, it's good that we don't go to the opposite extreme of the most lax, stereotypical California parents of another persuasion looking like that. But that's one extreme. Permissiveness, laxness, the complete lack of any corporal punishment. I would say, excuse me, but I'm actually kind of proud of that one. The complete lack of any corporal punishment. No. See, that's one extreme that we know causes certain types of psychoses. So their kids turn around and do stuff our kids don't do. And our kids can do some dumb stuff, but not quite what they do. And then there is us on the opposite extreme, where we will beat the snot out of our child because they asked for a Snickers bar at the grocery store. And we just fed up. Like no stress tolerance. Well, one of the reasons we have no stress tolerance is because of too much damn suffering throughout the generations. And then little things turn around and set us off to the point that when a child asks for a Snickers bar, we're taking off the belt and the slippers and everything else, and pulling their pants down in the middle of the store and whipping the hell out of them, to teach the rest of the world that we discipline our kids for two reasons. And one of them is so that massa doesn't come in to discipline them. We know they're going to be disciplined more harshly, so sometimes we try to satisfy everybody else by over-disciplining them. That's post-traumatic slave syndrome. The most permissive parents of that persuasion in California might be letting their kids run wild. And those of us of that persuasion are doing the complete opposite. Beating the snot out of them for anything. Very slow to give rewards and positive reinforcements, but very quick to snatch them up and proud of it. And so one of them asked, one of the two I said that inspired this post, asked, why were we willing to do this to our kids even on social media and then post it? And someone else mentioned that we have this tendency even to bond with each other based on stories of how brutally we were disciplined growing up. Now, I was lucky in that my parents were actually very middle of the road. I was quite fortunate in that regard. My folks were quite middle of the road. I'm aware of what they did right and what they did wrong, and all I ask from my parents is, please don't ask me to carry on the mistakes that you made to my own children's generation. Don't ask me or expect me to pass these things on in the name of culture. I'm not going to do it. I don't give a rat's behind if 1,000 generations of us ate pork. I'm not passing that on. So what am I going to pass on excessive discipline or hypo-discipline to my kids for? That's all I ask. But I was fortunate. I still saw many of my colleagues, many of my peers growing up who had that middle of the road type discipline from their parents. And I saw others who had that super extreme, I'll beat the snot out of you in front of everybody just to embarrass you because I have no concern for your feelings even when you're right type of discipline and child rearing. And I saw almost none of them of our persuasion that would under-discipline the kids. But I saw plenty of that persuasion who would brag and say, come on, my parents don't do this, that, and the other. They don't do any of that. We don't need to be extreme like that in any way, form, or fashion. And we damn sure don't have to use culture in order to justify it. We glorify suffering too goddamn much before we have this problem and after we have it and because of this problem. So, I've already taken 8 minutes. That's enough. I think you got the message. We really do need to make several cultural changes, and that's just one of them. We need to stop over-disciplining, and we don't need to start under-disciplining our kids. We need to be in the middle, and we need to stop glorifying suffering all the damn time. Every time something causes us pain, and we start trying to act like it's the best thing that could have happened to us just because we don't like it. Defining the purpose of our lives as suffering. Cut that out, black people. I hope this has been a benefit. Assalamu alaikum.